You missed it, huh? Lisa said, half laughing, half sneering, as I walked in the front door, still sweating through my polo after 18 holes under the July sun. Don't worry. You didn't win anything important. Her voice carried that mocking lilt I'd started to notice more and more lately. Like she knew something I didn't, and she was just waiting for the punchline to land. She didn't even look up from her phone. Just sat there, curled on the couch in her perfect little yoga pose, wine glass dangling from her fingers like some smug queen. But I had won something. I had just sunk the most impossible, sun in my eyes, one chance only, crowd holding its breath kind of putt. The kind of shot you only pull off once in a lifetime. The kind ESPN highlights with slow motion and dramatic music. 200 guys had watched it drop in. Half of them had bet against me. I'd walked away with a gold trophy, local fame, and a big damn check. $2 million for a charity match sponsored by a crypto betting startup looking to make headlines. Lisa didn't know that part yet. Hell, she didn't even ask. She never asked anymore. Instead, she flicked her eyes up just long enough to scan me, then returned to whatever was on her screen. Probably another one of her filtered yoga pics, or maybe texting that blonde Pilates friend of hers who giggled too much and smelled like vanilla and secrets. Lately, Lisa had started wearing perfume again, not for me. For someone. Just not me. That night was supposed to be a celebration. Not just for the money. Nobody expected that money. But for me. For still being able to keep up with men 20 years younger. For standing tall in a crowd that had counted me out. But instead of toasts and cheers, I came home to silence, judgment, and that condescending smirk. I should have told her right then. Instead, I played dumb. Shrugged off the shoulder burn, cracked a beer, and sat across from her, hoping she'd ask. She didn't. You're late, she said after a beat. Dinner's cold. I made salmon. You don't even like salmon, I muttered before I could stop myself. That made her smile. Really smile. Not the warm kind. The kind you wear when you've already won something the other person hasn't even realized is a game yet. You're right, she said. I don't. Then she got up and went upstairs. And it hit me. That wasn't dinner. That was bait. A test. A setup. And I'd failed. From that moment, something started unraveling. Not just in our marriage. Inside me. I couldn't shake this gnawing thought that Lisa wasn't just tired of me. She was mocking me. Deliberately. Like I was some pathetic, washed-up joke she kept around for amusement. I started noticing more. The gym bag she didn't use but kept in her trunk. The random overnight trips with no real explanation. The new lingerie tucked into the back of her drawer, tags still on. The way she changed her phone passcode every few days, like clockwork. And the lies, so casual, so obvious, it was like she didn't even care if I caught her. I was at Amy's, she said last weekend when she came home smelling like musk and sweat and a stranger's cologne. Amy who? I hadn't heard that name in months. Oh, you know, she added, when I raised an eyebrow. Pilates Amy. Then she laughed again. That same sharp, slicing laugh. Like I was a dog doing tricks too old to know the treat was gone. I didn't say anything then either. I just smiled. Nodded. Let her go on thinking I was still the clueless, docile fool she believed she married. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Because right after I made that $1 million putt, right after the announcer shouted my name over the loudspeakers and the crowd rushed the green, someone slipped me a business card. No name. Just a number. A PI who'd seen me on the ESPN stream and knew what Lisa had been doing while I was at practice swings and league dinners. I called him the next morning. What he told me made my blood run cold. And I knew. I wouldn't just be cashing in one check. There would be another. Bigger. One Lisa would watch live on national TV. But she'd never see it coming. I met the private investigator in a downtown diner that smelled like burnt coffee and old betrayal. He was exactly what you'd expect. Thick mustache, denim jacket in July, the kind of eyes that didn't blink unless something burned. He didn't waste time. Didn't ask why I was there. Just slid a manila folder across the sticky table like he was handing me a loaded weapon. Didn't take long, he said. She's not subtle. I stared at the folder, heart thudding. I didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to know what was inside. But I also could not know. Because deep down, I already knew. Every lie she told had been stitched together like a poorly sewn costume, flashy, distracting, but full of holes. I just hadn't looked closely. Until now. I opened it. Photos. Time-stamped. Crisp, clear. Lisa, my wife, in yoga pants and a tank top that barely held her together, standing in front of a downtown hotel with a man I'd never seen before. Tall. Younger. Arms like steel cables. He wasn't touching her in that first photo. Not yet. The second one, he had his hand on her lower back. She leaned into it like it was home. The third one, them kissing. Not just kissing. Melting into each other. The fourth, her laughing, flipping her hair, unlocking her car like it was nothing. Like she hadn't just handed another man her mouth, her time, her body. I couldn't breathe. She's been meeting him twice a week, the PI said, cracking open a sugar packet with the same detachment he might use swatting a fly. Sometimes at that hotel. Sometimes at a house he's renting out in the West End. He slid over a second folder. This one's better, he said, almost grinning. Video. I didn't open it. Not yet. My fingers curled into a fist on the table. I wanted to punch something. Scream. But I didn't. Because what was the point? She had already won the first round, and I hadn't even known I was in the ring. How much? I asked him. For everything? You want it all. I want everything. I want what she's hiding. I want what she thinks I'll never find. He nodded. 20%. Flat. No hourly. I'll deliver the kind of truth that makes her choke on her own fake life. We shook hands. It was the most important deal I ever made. By the time I got home, Lisa was already in bed, scrolling her phone with her back turned to me, acting like nothing was wrong. Like the world was just fine. Like she hadn't spent the afternoon grinding against some other guy and pretending salmon was dinner. I stood there, in the doorway, just watching her. My heart wasn't even broken anymore. It was hard. Cold. Focused. She didn't look up. You're late again, she said, still staring at her phone. Golf boys keep you out past bedtime? I didn't answer. She finally glanced up. Something in my face must have thrown her off because her eyes lingered a little longer than usual. What? She said, brow cocked. Why are you looking at me like that? Still, I said nothing. She stared at me for another second, then laughed, nervously this time. Okay, creepy much? Take a shower or something. You stink. And that was it. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a wife. I was dealing with a stranger. A woman who didn't see me anymore. A woman who had built a second life right under my roof and dared me to notice. So I did what any man would do in my shoes, I smiled. Then I turned off the light and laid beside her, wide awake, as she curled up and drifted off to sleep. But I wasn't sleeping. I was planning. Because she didn't know it yet. But her private little fantasy life, her dirty little secret, was about to go very public. On a stage so big she'd never hide from it again. Not when ESPN aired the replay. Not when the check cleared. Not when the cameras zoomed in on her face. Just in time to catch the truth. The next morning, I left the house before sunrise. Lisa was still asleep, snoring softly under the duvet she always pulled too far to her side. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching the light hit her hair. I tried, really tried to feel something. Maybe regret. Maybe sadness. Maybe that faint echo of love we used to know. But nothing came. It was like watching a stranger lie in my bed, in my house, wrapped in comfort she didn't deserve. I closed the door quietly and headed out. The private investigator had texted me after midnight, "You're gonna want to see this one in person." So I drove 40 minutes across town, parked 2 blocks away from a modern-looking duplex, and watched through a cracked pair of binoculars as Lisa strutted up the steps to that rented house, same leggings, same smirk, same oblivious energy. She didn't knock. She had a key. 10 minutes later, the curtain shifted just enough to catch a glimpse. Lisa in the guy's lap, his shirt already off, her face buried in his neck like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like she hadn't just left a husband, a home, a history. I felt sick. Not because she cheated. I'd accepted that part. No, this was worse. She looked happy, free, playful, like some perfect, curated Instagram version of herself had come to life, and it had nothing to do with me. No guilt, no shame, just a woman who had already buried her marriage and was dancing on the grave. The investigator, Namesdale, stepped beside me and handed over a flash drive. High-def footage, inside and out. Got the whole morning, plus a couple of previous visits. You want audio too? I nodded. I didn't even have the strength to speak. He knew. He'd seen this before. He didn't offer sympathy, just information. Professional betrayal costs less when it comes without the tears. What do you want to do with this? He asked. Because I can pull back now if it's too much. I turned to him. Calm. Cold. Focused. No. I want you to go deeper. He raised an eyebrow. Deeper how? Bank records. Text messages. I want to know everything. I want to know what she eats before she screws him, and I want to know what lies she tells after. I want timelines. I want patterns. I want her entire second life mapped out down to the minute. Dale whistled low. You planning a divorce or a war? Both, I said. Back at home, Lisa was already dressed and sipping a green smoothie at the kitchen counter like nothing happened. She didn't even hear me come in. You want one? She asked. I made extra. Sure, I said, taking it. You look refreshed. She smiled. Got up early. Went for a run. Felt good. I stared at her. Run? She'd been tangled up with a half-naked guy in West End 30 minutes ago. I had the time-stamped footage on a drive in my jacket pocket. She knew I'd never question it, because I never had. And that's when it hit me. Lisa didn't just lie. She relied on my trust. She weaponized it. This wasn't a fling. It wasn't a mistake. It was an operation. Something she'd maintained, managed, and rehearsed. I was thinking, she said, walking past me with a pat on my chest, we should take a weekend trip soon. Just us. Like old times. I nearly choked on the smoothie. Oh, I said, fighting the rage rising in my throat. She nodded. I feel like we've been disconnected. I want to get us back. Get us back. After months of deception. After crawling into someone else's bed twice a week. After mocking me behind my back. She had the audacity to sell me healing. Like I was a fool who could be fixed with a hike and a couple's massage. But I smiled. Because now I saw the game clearly. And I was going to play it better than she ever imagined. I took her hand gently and said, yeah, let's plan something special. Because Lisa didn't know it yet. But that trip she wanted? It was going to be special. It was going to be unforgettable. And when the truth finally hit her, it wouldn't be on some quiet weekend getaway. It would be broadcast to millions. She'd walk into the fire wearing a sundress and a lie. And I'd be standing at the center, holding the match. The night after she suggested the weekend trip, Lisa was all over me. Like that kind of all over me. Wearing that silk robe I hadn't seen in over a year, the one that always meant she wanted something, not necessarily from me. She lit a damn candle, played some Marvin Gaye like it was 1998, and smiled at me with eyes that didn't belong to a wife, they belonged to an actress. I went along with it. Every touch, every fake giggle, every whisper in the dark, I logged it. Not because I wanted it. God, no. But because I needed to remember exactly how far she was willing to go to keep me in the dark. She was a performance artist now, and I was just the idiot in the front row clapping along. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours after she fell asleep on my chest. I could hear her breathing, slow and satisfied, like she'd conquered something. Like she was winning. Maybe she thought the trip idea worked. Maybe she thought I was too broken or too lonely or too old to see the cracks in the story she was painting. The irony? I had already booked the resort. But not for a getaway. For revenge. It was a high-end golf and spa retreat just outside Palm Springs. The same one I'd been to years ago with my league when we made it to regionals. Lisa didn't remember that, of course. Back then, she was too busy hating my geezer sport. She'd mocked my clubs, rolled her eyes at my tournaments, even called my team the retirement squad. But the cameras would remember. Oh yes. This time, ESPN was covering the event. Live. With drones, sideline interviews, and trophy handoffs. And I wasn't just invited. I was headlining. The crypto sponsor who had cut me that first check for $2 million? They doubled down. Offered me a second chance, four-man charity showdown, live broadcast, open bar, and a fresh purse of $2 million. Winner takes all. Only this time, they wanted a story. A redemption arc. An underdog. A guy who showed the world that age wasn't the end, it was the beginning. So I gave them that story. And in return, I asked for just one thing. Can I bring a guest to hand me the trophy? They said yes. I sent Dale, the PI, to coordinate with the crew. He already had the footage. But now I gave him a bigger mission. Turn this into a presentation. Cut it. Edit it. Add subtitles if you have to. I wanted Lisa's affair turned into a live-streamed masterpiece. And I wanted her to watch it in real time, surrounded by people with cameras. Jesus, Dale muttered when I explained the setup. You sure you don't want to just serve her divorce papers like a normal person? I looked him dead in the eye. She didn't just cheat on me, I said. She laughed at me. She made me the joke. I'm just making sure the punchline hits. He nodded, almost impressed. All right, man. You're not pulling punches. I'll get the footage ready. It'll roll right after the final putt. Full screen. You're putting it on the Jumbotron? He smirked. You wanted a stage, right? So that was it. The plan was in motion. Now, all I had to do was pretend for a few more days. Pretend to be the dumb, doting husband. Pretend to love the woman who was sleeping with a trainer in West End and smiling in my face like nothing was wrong. And let me tell you something. Pretending was the hardest part. Because every morning she'd kiss me on the cheek like she meant it. Every night, she'd climb into bed and make soft sounds, ask me if I felt closer to her again. And all I could think about was how she smelled like someone else's car, how her laughs were just slightly delayed, how her lies were smoother than silk. She wasn't trying to fix us. She was trying to trap me. But it was too late. I'd already slipped the leash. We were exactly 1 week out from the tournament. 1 week from the shot that would go viral. 1 week from the moment she'd hand me the trophy. And watch her double life explode across every screen in the stadium. 7 days. That was all I needed to keep my mask on. Just 7 more days of smiles, soft nods, fake kisses, and pretending not to hear her phone vibrate under her pillow at midnight. 7 more mornings of swallowing bile while she danced barefoot in the kitchen to Stevie Nicks, wearing his hoodie, telling me it was just an old one from college. I'd never seen that hoodie in my life, but I smiled, ate the egg she made, kissed her on the forehead like she was still the woman I married and not the woman starring in the feature-length disaster I was about to screen live in front of 1,000 people and a national audience. Dale was relentless. Every evening, he'd send me new clips, GPS logs, timestamp texts, footage from hidden cams inside the West End house. It was a mosaic of betrayal. Lisa laughing in another man's lap. Lisa cooking dinner in someone else's kitchen. Lisa wearing my necklace as she took off her wedding ring before locking the bedroom door. I watched it all, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to understand just how deep her lies went. And I wanted it fresh in my mind when she handed me that damn trophy on stage. I spent the days before the tournament rehearsing my shot like a machine. Drive, chip, putt, over and over again until my hands blistered. This wasn't just a game anymore. This was a performance. A war. I wasn't just swinging at a ball. I was lining up 15 years of lies, humiliation, and sacrifice, and driving them into oblivion. Lisa kept playing the doting wife role. She booked the hotel, bought a new white sundress for the event, texted me smiley faces and, "I'm proud of you," emojis like she hadn't spent that same morning in someone else's bed. "You've really been dialed in this week," she said one night, rubbing my shoulders as we sat out on the deck. "It's sexy when you focus." I had to bite my cheek to keep from flinching. "You think you'll win?" she asked, voice sweet as sugar-covered arsenic. I turned, smiled, and kissed her hand. "I already have." We left Friday morning, early. She was in a good mood, humming in the passenger seat, legs up on the dash like a teenager, snapping selfies for the memories. She tagged me in one with the caption, #MarriedLife, #TeamTom, #PalmSpringsBound. Team Tom. I almost laughed, out loud, but I kept driving. The resort was more luxurious than she expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows, spa treatments, gourmet food, and of course, the massive golf course that would become her personal coliseum. I made sure we arrived early so she could soak in every moment, so she could relax, drop her guard, settle into the fantasy of being the supportive wife again. Dale was already there. He met me at the driving range while Lisa was off getting a facial. "We're good to go," he said. "Final cut is 10 minutes. Starts with your wedding photo, ends with her latest session. It's gonna ruin her." I nodded, gripping my club so hard my knuckles cracked. "There's more," Dale added, looking serious now. "The guy she's seeing?" I pulled his records. "He's married. 2 kids. Wife thinks he's doing late-night coaching sessions. You want to bring her in? That gave me pause. I hadn't thought of her. The other betrayed one. The woman on the other side of the mirror. Yes, I said finally. She deserves to see it, too. Invite her. Dale smirked. Revenge family barbecue. I like it. The day before the tournament, Lisa surprised me again. She handed me a little black box. A gift, she said, placing it in my palm. For luck. Inside was a custom engraved ball marker. Silver. Polished. It read, "Keep your eye on the prize, L." I almost choked. Because that's exactly what I'd been doing. All week. All month. And I was so close now. One more day. One more game. One last act in this grotesque little play. And when I sank that final putt, she'd walk toward me, smiling for the cameras, reaching for the mic. And I'd let her hand me the prize. Right before I gave her the show of a lifetime. The morning of the tournament, the sun rose like fire over the desert hills, blinding, merciless, unforgiving. Perfect. Lisa looked radiant. Too radiant. Like a bride on the morning of a second wedding nobody knew was happening. She wore the white sundress she'd bought just for this trip, delicate fabric that clung to her curves like a secret, paired with sandals and that effortless smirk she reserved for men she thought she had under control. She curled her hair, painted her nails, applied makeup so subtle it screamed effort. But she didn't do it for me. She never did. This wasn't about pride. It was about optics. About appearing like the loyal wife on the arm of a man who was about to hit national airwaves for the second time in his life. The resort buzzed with excitement. Sponsors shook hands. Golf carts zipped across the course like bees on a warpath. Cameramen checked angles. Drone operators prepped for airtime. Everyone knew this was going to be big. Everyone but Lisa. She thought she was here for the after-party. For Instagram stories and wine toasts and fake smiles while the cameras rolled. She thought she was about to be filmed next to her husband, the charming comeback kid, her hand in mine as I held up the trophy, confetti raining from the sky. She had no idea she was about to become the show. ESPN had a setup worthy of the Super Bowl. The big screen behind the 18th green stretched nearly 40 feet wide. Viewers at home would see the game, the highlights, the slow-motion hero shots, and then, right after the final putt dropped and I was declared champion, my chosen moment would begin to play. Lisa stood beside me during the pre-game interviews, all teeth and rehearsed affection. "I'm just so proud of him," she cooed. "He's worked so hard. It's been a journey for both of us. Both of us." I wanted to scream. Instead, I kissed her forehead and nodded at the camera like a grateful husband. Inside, I felt the storm coil tighter. She didn't even notice the other woman standing 15 feet away under the shade of a wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses on, lips tight, watching Lisa with the focus of a sniper. That was Jessica, the wife of Lisa's little side project. Dale had invited her personally, shown her the footage, and given her front-row seats to the slaughter. I wasn't the only one seeking closure. I was just the one with a platform. The match was short. For players. 18 holes. Winner takes all. $2 million. Microphones picked up every breath, every muttered curse, every cheer. I played like a ghost possessed, nothing but muscle memory and fury. Every shot was a message. Every hole a nail in the coffin. By the back nine, I was leading. Lisa waved to the crowd from her seat in the VIP section, tossing little air kisses and pretending she'd been part of this story the whole time. By the 16th hole, she was on her second glass of champagne, legs crossed, phone in hand, smirking at the screen. By the 17th, Jessica had moved up beside her quietly. Casually. Their elbows brushed, but neither said a word. They just watched. 18th hole. Par 4. The world slowed down. I hit the drive clean, chipped within 6 feet of the cup. The green shimmered like glass. Silence fell. Not just around the course, but in me. I stood over the ball, breath steady, fingers curled around my putter like a weapon. Then I saw her, Lisa, standing now, hands clasped like some adoring fan. Eyes sparkling. And I sank the putt. Clean. Center cup. Applause erupted. And in the middle of that explosion, Dale gave the cue. The screen behind me lit up. A still image appeared, our wedding photo, me and Lisa, young and stupid and grinning like fools. She smiled wider. Then the next image played. Lisa, kissing the trainer. A different bed. A different smile. Her expression froze. The champagne flute slipped. Another clip. Her stripping off her ring. Her laughing into a pillow. Her voice on audio. He still thinks I'm at yoga. What an old puppy. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then Jessica stepped forward, slow and deliberate. And Lisa turned to look at the screen. Really look, just as her lover's wife reached into her purse and pulled out a copy of the footage, slapping it into Lisa's frozen hands like a court summons. Cameras caught everything. The betrayal. The shock. The collapse of Lisa's face from Hollywood wife to cornered animal. She turned to me then, but I was already walking away, trophy in hand, head high, leaving her in the wreckage of her own theater. And the best part? That wasn't even the climax. That was just setup, because I hadn't cashed the check yet, and half of it was going straight to the man who made her ruin unignorable. She didn't chase me. Not at first. Lisa just stood there, silent, pale, broken in a way I hadn't seen in 15 years. Her mouth was moving, but no sound came out. Jessica handed her the flash drive and walked off like a soldier returning from war. No dramatics. No screaming. Just clean, calculated delivery. The ESPN cameras pulled away quickly, but not fast enough to miss the look on Lisa's face, a look now immortalized across millions of live streams, Twitter clips, and replay accounts already racking up views by the second. Comments poured in. Yo, that guy's wife got exposed mid-tournament. Insane. Is this a scripted Netflix show or real life? King behavior. No mercy. It wasn't just a scandal. It was a moment. And Lisa, picture perfect. Cheating Lisa was the villain now. No edits. No PR team. No filters. Just a raw, unraveling truth sprayed across a 40-foot screen, with a golf crowd erupting in disbelief as background music. I didn't look back. I walked into the clubhouse, signed for the check, took the glossy photo with the sponsor, and shook hands like a champion. Everyone kept congratulating me like I'd just pulled off a comeback for the ages. They didn't know the real comeback was still brewing. Dale texted me as I was changing out of my cleats. She's trying to reach you. 8 missed calls. 3 voicemails. 1 incoming apology to her. I left my phone on silent. Instead, I sat in the locker room and just breathed. For the first time in what felt like years, the pressure was gone. Not the tension, not the rage, those were still simmering under the surface, but the weight of pretending, of being humiliated by someone I loved while smiling through it, of playing a part in a marriage where I didn't even get lines anymore. It was gone. She had tried to bury me with lies. I just gave her the shovel and let her dig. An hour later, I stepped outside to grab some air and found her waiting near the valet circle. Alone. No camera crew. No friends. Just her, sundress wrinkled, makeup running down her cheeks, sunglasses pushed up like a broken crown on her forehead. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile. And completely out of rehearsed lines. Tom, she said, stepping forward. I said nothing. She stopped herself. Looked around. No audience this time. I didn't know it would go like that. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so pathetic. You didn't know what, exactly? That screwing your trainer in a rental house twice a week might eventually catch up to you. Her face cracked. Please. Can we talk? In private? Oh, now you want privacy? I said, voice cold. After parading our marriage like a prop in your little Instagram soap opera? I made a mistake, she said. A stupid, selfish mistake. No, I replied. You made a choice. Repeatedly. And you didn't stop because you didn't think I'd find out. You were counting on that. She went quiet. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. You humiliated me. Mocked my age. Laughed at the one thing that kept me sane. You used to call my league the nursing home league. Remember that? I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. Every time. Every eye roll, every fake smile, every time you told your friends I still wore pleated khakis and tucked in my shirts too tight. You meant it. And that's why this happened the way it did. Tears spilled over now. She reached out. I love you, she whispered. I stepped back. No, Lisa, you don't. You love control. And you just lost it. Then I handed her something. Not a letter. Not papers. Not a note. A check. Exactly half of the $2 million. She stared at it, confused. This is for Dale, the investigator. The one who got you a bigger audience than you ever had on social media. Think of it as your final sponsorship deal. Her hands shook. You're giving it to him? He earned it. You made it happen. She opened her mouth again to beg, to spin, who knows, but I was already walking away. Toward my car. Toward the next chapter. Behind me, she stood frozen, a woman who finally realized the cameras weren't on her anymore. They were watching me. And I was just getting started. I didn't go home. Not that night. Not the next. Instead, I checked into a quiet, no frills inn on the edge of Joshua Tree, a place so silent it felt like I'd stepped out of time itself. No TVs. No distractions. Just wind through the brush and the low hum of desert solitude. I needed that silence. Because when the storm clears, that's when you hear what was really roaring inside you. Lisa tried everything. The calls became texts. The texts became voicemails. The voicemails turned into long-winded emails titled, "Can we please just talk? You're overreacting," and the piece de resistance. None of this would have happened if you were there for me. There it was. The pivot from apology to blame, classic Lisa. Suddenly, her cheating wasn't a betrayal. It was my fault. My golf. My tournaments. My long weekends. My aging. My wrinkles. My fading youth. My quiet disappointment. That email hit at 2:14 a.m. By 2:17 a.m., it had a red line through it and lived forever in my trash folder. And yet, I won't lie to you. There were moments, bitter, ugly moments, where I read through those messages twice. 3 times. Part of me wanted to find a thread of sincerity in her madness. I guess after 15 years of marriage, your brain tries to give her one last out. But there was no out. Just rope. And she'd already used it. Dale checked in from time to time, feeding me updates I didn't ask for but appreciated. The footage had gone viral. Clips of Lisa's face as the screen lit up behind me had been remixed into TikToks, meme compilations, and reaction videos. Twitter renamed her. Hashtag golf wife gone wrong. Hashtag hole-in-one heartbreak. Hashtag trophy of truth. At first, I cringed. Not because I cared about her reputation, but because that kind of public exposure burns everyone, even the ones who light the fire. But Dale had done something clever. He hadn't released everything, just enough to detonate her image and prove the facts. The rest? Locked away. In case she tried anything stupid. In case she thought the game was still hers to play. But Lisa didn't fight. Not yet. She disappeared for 3 days. Deleted her socials. Went radio silent. Even her Pilates posse, the plastic-faced wine moms with fake tans and real cruelty, distanced themselves like she had contracted scandal by contact. And then, just as I was settling into the quiet, I got the letter. Not an email. Not a text. A physical, handwritten letter, delivered by courier to the front desk of my inn. No return address. Just my name in cursive I hadn't seen in years. The version of Lisa who still used pins, not pretenses. I read it once. Then twice. Then a 3rd time. And every time, it changed. The first read? It was an apology, fragile, desperate, and weirdly poetic. The second? A manipulation, masterful phrasing, calculated remorse, just enough self-pity to trigger old wounds. The third? A warning. Because buried in paragraph 4, somewhere between "I lost myself" and "You're still the only man who truly knew me," was a line that didn't sit right. I just hope none of this affects your endorsements. I know how sensitive those. I stared at that letter for over an hour. That single line, the full context, circled my brain like a vulture. I knew Lisa. Knew how she weaponized innocence. Knew how she spun stories not with facts but with the absence of them. She didn't need proof to ruin someone. She just needed suggestion. A wink. A whisper. Something vague enough to fester, spread, infect. And now she was implying she had leverage on me? After all that? After she detonated our marriage like a cheap firework at a 4th of July party? I folded the letter slowly, pressed it flat on the desk of my room. And then I pulled out the second phone, the one Dale gave me. The one with the hard drive backups. The raw footage. The uncut audio files. The metadata. Everything we didn't show the public. Everything we saved, in case she got bold. She got bold. Dale answered on the first ring. "Figured I'd hear from you," he said. "Got your little love letter?" "Yeah," I said. "We're shifting gears. You want her silenced or dismantled?" That pause I took? It wasn't out of uncertainty. It was out of caution. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculated. "She wants war," I said. Let's give her a documentary. By the next morning, Dale was in LA, meeting with a producer friend who owed him favors. We weren't just going to bury Lisa, we were going to air the grave. A full-feature expose, disguised as a redemption arc for me, but layered with real, untampered truth. Audio logs, video, text threads, hidden cam confessions, every fake alibi, every sloppy lie. We weren't going tabloid. We were going prestige. Meanwhile, Lisa resurfaced online. Of course she did. New profile. New branding. No longer wife of Tom Gregory. Now she was Lisa Monet, wellness advocate. Yoga. Lifestyle. Inner growth. Her bio said she was emerging from darkness to share light. Her first post? A photo of her barefoot on a mountain cliff, arms outstretched like some detoxed saint, captioned, "The world doesn't know what it didn't see. But I'm still standing. Hashtag healing journey, hashtag truth will out." The comments were split. Half cheering her on, mostly women who didn't know the story but had trauma radar set to sympathize immediately. The other half? Unforgiving. Brutal. You got caught. Sit down. Cheating isn't a journey, it's a choice. Your husband dunked you live on ESPN. This ain't it. But Lisa didn't flinch. She was building something. Positioning herself as the misunderstood phoenix, wings made of Pilates straps and gaslight confessions. It was clever. I'll give her that. But not clever enough. Because Dale's team wasn't just cutting footage. They were securing interviews. Jessica, the trainer's wife, signed on first. Then a former friend of Lisa's who had screenshots. Then two women who had been quietly pushed out of Lisa's circle over the years, victims of her alpha queen games. It became clearer by the day. Lisa hadn't just cheated on me. She'd been practicing cruelty for years. Only now, people had stopped clapping. Then came the sponsor call. "You've seen her page?" they asked. 3 days later, the sizzle reel hit inboxes across the industry like a drone strike. No warnings. No press releases. Just a clean, brutal compilation of facts, carefully trimmed, devastatingly timed, and laced with timestamps, watermarks, and receipts. It opened with a quote, white text on black screen. "Truth has no agenda. It just waits." Then it began. Footage of Lisa unlocking the West End house. Her whispering, "He still thinks I'm at yoga," on a call. Video of her slipping her wedding ring into her purse. Cross dissolves into Lisa lying beside the trainer, blurred only for legal reasons, audio uncut. Then, overlays of date-stamped bank charges matching her Pilates days. Private Venmo notes between her and her lover like, "You earned it today, face-blowing kiss." Cut to Jessica, calmly describing how she found hotel receipts on their joint credit card. Cut to a friend of Lisa's recounting how Lisa joked about training 2 puppies, the trainer and her husband, and how old men don't ask questions when you feed them a little ego and skin. Cut to me, post-tournament, silent, staring at the camera as the voiceover plays. "I don't need to ruin her. She did that herself. I'm just showing you the footage." The final scene? A freeze frame on Lisa's face at the tournament, seconds after the truth began playing behind her. Eyes wide. Lips parted. A woman caught mid-lie in HD. Fade out. Black screen. Hashtag the trophy was truth. The sponsors called me personally that night. "We're staying in," they said. "You're a walking narrative. We'll double the deal. And if you're open to it, we're thinking docuseries." I said one word. Yes. Because now this wasn't revenge. This was justice with broadcast rights. "Lisa?" She finally reacted. I knew she would. Her next move was a video. An apology, of course, 13 minutes long, shot in soft morning light with a mug labeled self-love clutched in her trembling hands. She wore a white tee. No makeup. Voice shaking just enough to pass as sincere. She cried at minute 4. Claimed mental health breakdown at minute 6. Blamed neglect at home at minute 9. Said, "I don't recognize the woman I became." And finally, this was never meant to be public. But it was too late. The internet had seen the receipts. And worse, the industry had too. Sponsors backed away from her. Wellness brands she'd tagged for years quietly removed her from PR lists. A podcast episode she'd been scheduled to guest on was replaced with a generic placeholder. Her Instagram comment section became a wasteland of popcorn emojis and fire gifs. Then came the email. The one I knew would come. Subject line, "Can we speak, privately?" Just us? No threats. No legal language. No spin. Just this. You win. You made your point. I'm sorry. Please, stop. We had history. That has to mean something. I'm falling apart here. Please don't destroy what's left of me. For a second, just 1 second, I hesitated. Not because I felt bad, but because I remembered. I remembered the girl I met at a bonfire when we were both 24. The girl who wore cut-off jeans and laughed so loud it made people turn around. The girl who kissed me under fireworks and called me her favorite decision ever made sober. That girl was gone. Lisa had killed her. And in her place, she'd built a fortress of lies and lip gloss and Pilates posts. A woman who didn't think I'd ever fight back. Who mocked me when she thought no one else would ever see. So I didn't respond. Instead, I called Dale. Upload the rest, I said. All of it, he asked. Every thread. Every timestamp. Don't just burn the house, salt the earth beneath it. Because she had played God with my life. And now, I wasn't just taking my story back. I was writing her ending. In ink. On film. For everyone to see. The upload went live at noon on a Saturday. Dale timed it down to the second. That's when engagement peaks, when everyone's halfway through brunch, scrolling their feeds with sticky fingers and bottomless mimosas. They weren't ready. Lisa sure as hell wasn't ready. Title: The Other Side of the Tea. What She Didn't Tell You. No gimmicks. No drama bait. Just the truth, served cold, crisp, and impossible to look away from. 43 minutes long. Professionally cut. Intro by a calm narrator with no stake in the story. Neutral. Deadpan. Unflinching. This is not about revenge. This is about reality. It started with text messages. Not doctored. Not sensationalized. Just screenshots, timestamped, geo-matched, cross-referenced. Side by side with her Instagram stories showing her at the spa, while her location pinged at the West End house. A split-screen masterpiece of deception. Frame by frame, you watch the life form. Mature. Blossom. Then came the voice clips. Clips of her on the phone with friends. Laughing. Bragging. Saying things like, he still thinks he's got game because he's winning senior tournaments. Let him have it. It's cute. And, honestly, I don't even feel guilty. He's just there. Like a bookshelf you stop noticing. I didn't speak once in the video. My voice was never heard. My face only appeared briefly, walking off the green after that putt, trophy in hand, the crowd exploding behind me. The focus wasn't on me. It was on her. Her words. Her smirks. Her choices. Her downfall. By the 20-minute mark, people weren't commenting anymore. They were watching. Silent. Horrified. By the end, Dale added a final clip, audio from Lisa's first recorded denial during Dale's investigation. Tom's just paranoid. I love him. I'd never do something like that. What kind of monster do you think I am? Then it cut to footage, timestamped 2 hours later, of her slipping into a robe in that dimly lit bedroom. The video ended. No music. No credits. Just a black screen. And this. Some lies you bury. Others bury you. The internet detonated. Twitter threads dissected every minute. YouTube reaction channels filmed themselves breaking down her gaslighting tactics frame by frame. Reddit swarmed with support. Men. Women. People who'd been cheated on. People who'd been Lisa. The verdict was unanimous. This isn't just a story. It's a documentary about emotional warfare. Her follower count dropped in real time. Thousands per hour. Her healing journey website gone. Her yoga sponsors? Statement released. We do not condone dishonesty, infidelity, or cruelty disguised as self-care. That afternoon, Lisa finally went live. She looked nothing like the smug woman from the tournament. No makeup. Eyes swollen. Hair undone. A shadow of herself. I have no words, she began. I know you've all seen it. I know there's nothing I can say that makes it right. For the first time, she didn't cry. She shook. I hurt someone who trusted me. I was arrogant. I was selfish. And now, I'm exposed. The comments didn't hold back. You're not sorry. You're sorry we found out. Accountability is not a brand. You played with someone's soul, and he let the world watch you do it. And then, Lisa signed off. No goodbye. No promise to do better. Just darkness. Like she'd finally realized there was no audience left. No redemption arc. No new identity waiting at the bottom of the barrel. Just ashes. That night, I sat on my balcony back at the inn. Trophy beside me. Scotch in hand. Watching the desert moon climb higher than it had all week. My phone buzzed once. A final message from Dale. It's done. No loose ends. She's ghosted. You're clean. And I finally exhaled. Not in relief, but in peace. Because Lisa had taken everything, trust, dignity, 15 years of my goddamn life, and turned it into a joke. A set piece. And I had given her the final punchline. Not just for me, but for everyone who's ever been told to sit down, shut up, and swallow betrayal like it's medicine. She started this in secret, but I ended it in front of the world. 3 weeks later, my face was on the cover of Golf Digest. Not just for the putt, not just for the comeback, but because I'd accidentally, and maybe just a little bit intentionally, become something more than just the guy who exposed his cheating wife on ESPN. I became a symbol of resolve, of dignity, of revenge without screaming, of holding the line when everyone says, let it go, man. I got invites to talk shows, podcasts. One late-night host introduced me as the coolest husband alive. Sponsors doubled, then tripled. One company offered me a lifetime supply of golf balls and a custom club line named Predictable Precision. I declined that last one because I was done performing. The storm had passed. Lisa never resurfaced. Not really. Last I heard, through Dale, of course, she'd left California. Disappeared somewhere quiet. Her accounts wiped. Her name changed on LinkedIn. There were whispers about a spiritual retreat in Sedona. A detox ranch. Some kind of rebirth narrative being quietly workshopped in the shadows. But it didn't matter. Let her heal. Let her rebuild. Let her write a new chapter under a different name in a place where nobody knows what she did. Because I won't chase her. I won't track her. I already buried that war. And I kept the tape. Not for revenge. Not for blackmail. But as a warning. A compass. Because sometimes, when you survive something that raw, something that tears your foundation to splinters, you need to remember exactly how you got out. You need to keep the scars visible. Not to scare others away, but to never lie to yourself again. I went back to the league. The same old man league she used to mock. She called it my little tea time therapy. Once, said it like it was pathetic. But it wasn't pathetic. It was brotherhood. When I showed up again, the guys didn't say anything. Not at first. They just nodded. Patted my back. One of them handed me a beer. Another passed me a new marker for my ball. It was shaped like a flame. Phoenix, he said with a grin. I laughed for the first time in what felt like a year. That day, I played the cleanest round of my life. No pressure. No eyes on me. Just wind. Sunlight. Grass under my feet. The sound of the swing. The clarity of silence that isn't empty, but earned. And you want to know the craziest part? I forgave her. Not out loud. Not in a message. Not in some big scene. But one morning, alone on the course, I looked at the sky and thought, you were wrong. You broke me. And I still got up. That was enough. Because I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her name cleared. I didn't need to fix anything. I won. Not because I ruined her, but because she couldn't ruin me. And I think that's what hurt her most of all. Not the footage. Not the crowd. Not the silence afterward. But that in the end, she had to watch me walk away, head high, while she faded. Alone. Not with a bang, but with the sound of a ball dropping cleanly into the final cup. A quiet, perfect click. Game. Set. Story over.